Hello, this is my presentation based on the Riverside County Fire Department, specifically with the Board of Supervisors by Natalie Alegria. So within the Board of Supervisors, I'm going to be talking about the agenda, the motive, and the minutes of the meeting. So to begin, the agenda is going to be held every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. on the first floor, also known as Board Chambers. The specific location is 4080 Lemon Street in Riverside. The motive or the action of the case that's going to be represented is for Native Americans and their human remains that are associated with treatment, disposition, and monitoring agreement with Agua Caliente. And then the minutes of the meeting, it's going to be talked about a little bit further in the presentation. But the minutes of the meeting is just notes that were, or important facts that were talked about within the meeting. So the Brown Act. The Brown Act happened in 1953, and initially it allows for everyone to be able to attend and be part of the meeting by participating and using their voice, having an opinion in order to address some of the many problems that there are. And that's just a little background of the Brown Act. Here's a little picture that represents what the Brown Act does. And then, so this is my news story, which is the San Diego Union Tribe. The news story was called Judge Slides with Lemon Grove in the Brown Case Act, and it just talks about the case that was going on right here. It talked about some examples in the red part. The green part was just talking about the investigation. I thought this part right here was very interesting because someone had sued the city on behalf of the government because they were violating the Brown Act, which is so interesting to me because I don't know, it just seems so interesting to me because it's a right. It's like a freedom. And they're not letting you have it right here. And then right here is talking more about the case in red. Right here is some evidence. And then the blue is also some more important factors based on the case. So an academic peer-reviewed journal, I found this one. It was called the Ralph M. Brown Act. Right here initially this article just talked about the Brown Act and like what it was into details. So I focus on three main parts. I focused on two main parts, which is right here, the general. Right here on this side too, the general. And then right here, it just goes into detail, what it represents, what your access to. Right here, the bodies covered by Brown Act was so important because it just gave basic information that some people probably don't know or probably don't understand that's being covered within this review. It's really interesting. Right here it talks about the meetings and how it is and how it relates to school. So the next thing we'll be talking about is the website. The website was Know Your Right, the Brown Act, and Open Meeting Rights. That's what the website was called. This website also just gave some information based on what the Brown Act was. However, on this side right here, on the right side, it focused on other topics, such the blue or the other topics. So it focused on how can legislative body limit my comments to only those pertaining to the agenda item, and it focuses on other important factors that were not covered in the other articles. So I thought it was so cool because it gave you the question right here, the blue, it's a question. And then the yellow is like an opinion answer, or it could be an answer, but just depending on how you take it. Right here, it tells you what the Brown Act covers. And then right here are some examples that I had previously already shown in describing what the Brown Act was. So going back to the case, right here was the minutes. So I'm going to be talking about the minutes a little bit. So, as I mentioned, the minutes are basically just notes of what had happened. So in my case, it just talked about the financial data, such as costs, source of funds, the budgets, and so forth. And that was the whole problem within the beginning. that was the whole problem that started it, that began it. It talked about the increase of monitoring because they found so many dead bodies and they needed to find out why, how. It was just a huge thing. And then it also covered the forms that were signed. So, and it covers the forms that were signed within monitoring, and within the funds and the money and so forth. And right here, it does say that it was approved, so that's very good. This is just the meeting. Sorry, this is just the website of the Riverside County meeting. So right here, it's saying that they meet on this is every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. at the County Administration Center. As I mentioned, the information right here is where you can be able to see the agenda, or you can view the whole meeting. And then right here just goes into detail about what was going on. I specifically found my case on number 22, which talks about the county fire department and then the approval of Native American human remains and associated items, treatments, dispositions, and monitoring agreement. Yeah, so to end my presentation, I'm going to answer these 3 last questions, which: have you ever attended a meeting in the local government agency, in person or online? No, I have not. Do I think I will attend one? I think I will, just because it's so interesting. I'm not sure if I would go straight to the county, but I would be interested in attending a meeting. What was the most surprising thing I learned? I think the whole thing was surprising. But the most surprising would be finding the information based off the Riverside County meetings, like the website, just because it was not easy to read or understand it, but once you get the hang of it, you'll understand what you're talking about. And then one last thing I want to talk about, which was on the minutes, was quorum, which quorum basically means it's just a minimum number of members of the meeting that must be presented and agree on the specific thing that's going on, and which in Riverside it's 3 out of 5, which also, again, it got approved. But yeah, that's my presentation. Thank you guys for listening to me.